Divorce and dating. We are answering all the questions that we wish we could have found on the internet while we were going through our divorces and they just weren't out there. Hey guys, I'm Rebecca and this is Davey. Welcome to our YouTube channel. So this is a several part series. I think we're on like part 3 now. This one is going to be all about what happens when you're divorced and you're dating with your family, both your in-laws and your outlaws and your kids. And this is a deeply personal topic for lots of people. Keep in mind, as we're sharing, like all families are different. The shape of your new family is going to be different, but we're going to do our best to share information in a way that I wish I would have had a YouTube video to watch when I was getting divorced. So
yeah, I think to this point, if you've been following along, the question was, are you ready for dating? We answered that first from an internal perspective. And now this is kind of another subdivided external perspective. We talked a lot about friends in the previous episode, and this is the family one. This is a tough one. You're going to lose members of your family. I mean, there's just no other way to say that. The first ones that you consider is your immediate family. We know of situations where people are getting divorced or talk about divorce or file for divorce or just have marital issues and lose their own parents or siblings because their parents have such an indoctrinated belief, whether that's religiously, socially, or otherwise, about marriage and staying married, blackballed by your parents.
Well, I have a good friend who was getting divorced. At this point, she was maybe in her own apartment already, like absolutely getting divorced. There weren't kids involved. And when her parents came to town, they went over to see her ex. Yeah. They had dinner with her ex. And you're like, what is going on? Some of that was brought on because her parents felt like she started dating too soon. And they felt bad for him. And like, oh, woe is them. Their daughter was the bad one. And it was like, that's not it, but is a great example of what happens so many times.
Yeah, you can lose your family. You can lose your parents. You can lose siblings.
How do you avoid that? What do you think? If you were like, hey, some of the people are not going to be supportive. Your family was very supportive. But how do you think you would mitigate that if you were giving advice to yourself? What would you have done?
You can't.
Okay.
You cannot ever control someone else's decisions about you. The only way to mitigate it is to get really comfortable with yourself and really healed and really safe and sure that all of that pain of divorce that you were going through in this marriage that was a failure, that the pain of losing a relationship with your own mother or father is still not as bad as living that hell every day. And that's what it's just a rock and a hard place calculation. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Those are the things that prevent people from quitting sooner, from getting out of situations is my mom and dad aren't going to talk to me if I show one amount of weakness that my marriage may not make it. And mom and dad, brother and sister, aunt and uncle, cousins, anything like that. I mean, these are the relationships that are on the line that, again, I'll say it again, if they're not going to support you unconditionally as your parent, your blood relative, what kind of family is that? I mean, you just hear these stories of these individuals who are terrible human beings and they end up on death row. And guess who comes to visit them still? Mom.
Right.
That's what your mom and your dad, your siblings.
Yeah.
They got to step up in this moment.
Well, and I think what's hard when you're dating, because that's what we're talking about, is when you're divorced and you're dating, what your family feels, your actual like family, the people, not your outlaws, who we're going to talk about in a second, but your family looks and they go, oh my gosh, she meant it this time. Because most likely your family, even more than some of your friends, has seen the dilution of your marriage. And all of a sudden they go, oh, my grandkids are going to have 2 houses. Oh gosh, are you sure? And it becomes like not just a fight they've heard over and over again, but it gets real when you start dating. And they, of course, it's always too soon for your own family. And I think that comes sometimes from an air of judgment. But in my case, it came from my mom being like, Rebecca Renee, this is like very soon. And I don't think that you know what you're doing. And like, it came from a place of genuine, like, this seems too soon. And it's always going to seem too soon for your family who cares about you, I think.
Yeah. And luckily and thankfully, mom and dad had my back from day one and they saw you as a liberator. And that is possible too. I know we talk about the doom and gloom, and I think it's important to prep people that are going through this. But if you got great family, friends, or parents, and you make the tough decision to sacrifice some social capital to date, if you've got a mom and a dad or immediate family members that are like, you know what, I see different. And I see that this woman that you brought into your life is great for your children. It's okay. We support you. You know what? In these situations where they've been there during the fights, they've been the shoulder to cry on, you know what parents really want? It's good to see you happy. That's all they want.
This is one of those things like hey, if you kept the whole world out and nobody knew how bad it was, this is one of those times that you come face to face with your decisions of, I'm glad you had your privacy during that time, but now they may not understand that your marriage has been dead for years. And so where I felt the most comfort in dating, because it was sooner than I wanted to date for sure, is I just had this rhetoric in my head that no matter what I'm going to do now in this phase of my life, there aren't going to be any secrets. And everybody who's around me is going to love me for me. And the only way they can do that is if I'm very vulnerable with them about what I'm going through, where I'm at. My mom, I didn't remember doing this, but my mom told us the first time that I told her I wanted her to meet Davey, I was like, go over there and like, make sure there's nothing wrong with him. Go look for red flags, mom. And it was like, was that the most healthiest? I don't know, maybe not. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I want everybody to know what I'm doing and like check my blind spots.
I knew that your mom was coming to check me out, by the way, to validate.
Because you bought her favorite candy bar.
But you told me
I did,
to.
right? I set you up for success. You're welcome.
Correct. But I didn't know until weeks ago that you sent her there. And I think that's a moment of really, really intentional mental health that you had that other people should really be listening to, especially as they're considering dating. Is this somebody you'd be proud enough to introduce to a parent? And maybe that ride or die parent, family member, sibling that has had your back through thick and thin.
You FaceTimed my brother early too. And I was like, check him out. Help. I don't know. I like him.
Include them if you trust them to keep you safe and keep you honest. So I think the family piece can be the toughest to deal with because and now we've talked internally. What about those nephews and nieces?
Oh gosh, I really didn't want to cry as we recorded
in-laws
this.
And the moms because remember on your wedding day, on my wedding day, this other family showed up and we merged our families and our parents got along or didn't for years and they've shared grandchildren.
Are we switching to talk about outlaws now?
Well,
is that where you're going with this?
I think what I'm sensing is that maybe that's its own thing. I don't know. I mean, if the short way to say it, if we don't come back and address it, is those relationships with your outlaws, your ex-in-laws, is going to be the most complicated thing in the world. You're going to lose them, but especially if there's little children. My nieces and nephews who I don't really have contact with is heartbreaking, right? And those are tough. Those are things you're going to lose unless you're in some super healthy relationship where everybody still gets to talk. But that's so rare.
Right. It is. It is really rare. And at the same time, if that's something that's important to you, I think you can fight for it. And it's not something that you should fight for in the middle of your divorce. Just set your mindset that while you're getting divorced, the last thing that your ex needs is you trying to keep relationships with people that are supposed to be in their corner. That's always going to feel like a war cry. But I will say, and this was like such a heartwarming moment for me, because you've worked really hard to keep some relationships with some people in your outlaw family who were really important to you. And we sat on the couch and you would cry over these relationships of children that you watched grow up that all of a sudden the only story that they'd heard was Davey was the bad guy. Which is fine, not great, but like we get it. And we tried to have mental health around it and grieve the loss of those relationships. But then at the pool yesterday, because a lot of family still lives in the area, I hear from the pool a really sweet little voice go, Uncle Davey, Uncle Davey. And this person now felt comfortable to address you in public and to wave and to have a conversation. So I think it's worth saying that when you start dating while you are crumbling those relationships, because everybody's emotional, you can put them back together.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think you just got to be intentional.
Yeah. All right.
Best of luck.